We want to came back a few months to Blockupy, all right, which it's just like 4 months ago. In Blockupy, we decided that we wanted to have this meeting. We decided that we want to have this meeting here in Madrid, and we wanted to do that because there was something going on in at least 2 places or 3 places. One was Europe, and the other one was the places in which we were fighting. And in Blockupy, we see that it was important to be here to see, in one way, how the people in Spain were managing this 15 May movement and how we were struggling against austerity. That was the, I don't know, mandatory of the Blockupy people to the people in Madrid. So, in these months, we have developed these workshops, this meeting, and we have done it trying to reproduce these methodologies and this kind of organization, which mean a lot of decentralization, a lot of networking on the net, a lot of streamers tweeting, blah, 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 a lot of mails going back and forward, and probably, or maybe, for some of you, kind of dispersion and chaos. So, we know that, and it's something that we struggle all day in our own places to work out how to manage this dispersion, but we think that this dispersion comes from a huge amount of participation, which is something that it's really useful. So we know that there has been some issues with the methodologies that we have been using, and some fractures between different ways of looking at things. So for today and for the things to come, we ask you to do two things. For today, please trust the people who have been developing this methodology. They know what they are doing, and they have developed it to let participation flow, first of all. And second, from now on, we ask you to incorporate to the process and to build this architecture, this open architecture with us, because it's going to be easier and more productive and factible, etc. The other issue that we have had these 3 days is, of course, as you are seeing now, language. We came from very different places, we speak different languages, and it is complicated to mix the different things. We know that some people have had a lesser participation because of that issue. But we want to remember that it was just 4 months ago that we decided to be here. And in these 4 months, this is what we have built all together. And we think that is huge and important. Second thing, and I finish, no, 2 things and I finish. First of all is for this thing that we have to solve now, we need to be relaxed. We are not going to solve European movement today. We are not going to solve debt today, democracy today, and rights today. It's a pity, but I think we need this reality principle to be on the. We need to be on the floor, you know. So this is important, but not as important as to be tense. So keep it cool, don't worry, and keep on going. yeah, kind of surfing way. That is one of the things. The other thing is that despite what we came together here, there has been 3 days of working together in different workshops, in different lines, debt, democracy and rights, and that is not lost, even if it is not all the things that we have talked here. Today, there has been several different meetings altogether for Florence, for Civil Disobedience Network, and several other things. So these linkings and this communication has already started. There is no need for this chart to recognize that. And to finish, we know that we need tools to communicate with each other when this finish. So we are going to make a very easy proposal, which is these 3 things. We have one mailing list that we have been using, which is Transcolab. It has been the mailing list in which we have been going back and forth with the, yeah, Transcolab. We can write it over there. So we asked to keep on using it. That is one of the questions. Second thing is that we have this website, and we are going to have a new meeting. We don't know where, we don't know when, but we are going to have a new one. So we propose that the people that are working in this website, which are mostly Spanish people now, start to cooperate with the people who is going to organize the next meeting, and to keep the website alive. As you see, is 2 or 3 very simple things. The third one is something that is not mandatory, of course, but maybe is useful, and it's not something that we want to discuss, but to propose, and if the people in the groups find that it's useful, you can use it, and if not, not. The thing is, we have now this Twitter account called 99 Agora, so we propose to decentralize this logo, you know, and use it at least to build one Agora 99 rights, Agora 99 debt, Agora 99 democracy, which will be useful for us to keep on looking to each other, and it's a very good excuse to keep on working on how that could, what kind of information that could do. Also, if any workshop that has been working during the Agora wants to produce his own account, like Agora 99 TICS or Agora 99 Auditoría de la Deuda, it will be useful for us to keep on visibilization of what we are doing all together. I repeat, this is not necessary. This is just if you want to if you want to do it. All right. So to finish, we think that we have been working so long these days. We think that also we party a little bit, at least yesterday. So we are kind of excited and also kind of tired. It's this kind of a strange sensation that happens when we are all together. So let's try to be productive. Let's try to produce something all together, thinking together and helping this collective intelligence that we all have to workflow. And if we do that, we think that this Agora meeting is going to be one huge step, and maybe in 4 months we can see each other, and this assembly will be much more complicated to develop, much more complicated to translate, because there will be here a lot of people who is not here today, but as the network grows, will make this European movement grows. Thank you very much for coming, and let's start with this assembly.
Sorry, we prepared it in English, in Spanish, so we've been quickly translating it. I'm sorry, I'm going to read it because it wasn't me that was meant to do the presentation. Okay, I haven't started. Okay, in the debt access, we've been working on different issues, and we touched themes about European policies, international context, and active players that work on debt, strategies, strengths, and the need for a common calendar. So based on the work done, we had a dynamic yesterday afternoon where we outlined some things we think are important. We have to link the effect of European policies with local struggles, underlining the direct link between the mechanism of debt and its effects on citizens. Shape a common international message about the legitimacy of debt generation mechanisms. And despite the difference in every country, we thought that the funding mechanisms are different, are similar, and produce similar problems. So we thought it quite strategical to start pointing out the power structures that define the policies imposed in the EU, signaling out banking, corporate power, and international organizations. Okay. Yeah. So we thought also interesting to really work on social pedagogy, learning, teaching, translating complex language of European policies to better understand and make an effort in order to increase awareness on all these issues, and a coordinated and unified message at an international level, adapted to different contexts. Improve and expand networks across Europe, making our message permeable to northern countries where problems have still really not yet arisen, but we need to make them visible. Break official speech and work on common manners. We thought about how to coordinate these initiatives as well. We were thinking about opening up a mailing list, which I think that issue has been solved, right? Yeah. And also find some kind of web blog where we can coordinate different information, documents, tools, so we can work together on this common message in some way. Work on boycott actions, creative trolling, and communicative guerrilla. We also worked and showed what we've done on development of 2.0 tools and ways to help citizen participation. Looking for transparency and trying to point out problems with debt. There's also been a discussion on how to communicate and coordinate between the different axes, between debt, democracy, and rights. We think it's very, very much connected. We can't talk about debt without talking about how our democracy is being emptied, and all these cuts are just attacking directly our rights. So we really think it's important that we can build this common message and join up these three axes. And yes, of course, there was a consensus on building a common European mobilization calendar. We talked about different dates, like 14M, the G8 meeting in London in June, World Social Forum in Tunisia, the European Parliament elections. But we also considered interesting to see what dates come out from next weekend's meeting in Florence, and see if we can synchronize with other groups and organizations across Europe, and really come out with a strong, coordinated agenda with actions.
Well, can you hear me all? Is it okay? Okay, I'm going to read a proposal of the consensus document. We worked in the debt access all along yesterday. Okay? Debt working group. So, here it goes. Debt has been proved to be the most powerful domination tool of the system. Activists from different social movements have gathered in Madrid during this weekend in the Agora 99% meeting to work and look for shared agreements among the movements of different countries about debt. These are our main conclusions. Lack of democracy in Europe has allowed that under the threat of debt, people's basic rights are being violated. We denounce to responsible agents of emptying democratic institutions from people's sovereignty. We point at the transnational corporations, especially international banks, for grabbing wealth through the payment of interests and the privatization of public companies in strategic sectors. The debt group will work in order to restore people's sovereignty. We already know that debt claimed to governments has not been acquired by governments. Therefore, this is an illegitimate debt that we are not going to pay. This same mechanism has been applied to southern countries during 2 decades. This is the debt system, which aim is to subjugate workers and natural resources to capitalistic accumulation schemes. They call it austerity measures, but as our Greek colleague said, this is genocide. The response from the people must be at the level of the size of the aggression they are suffering. We are going to take urgent measures which we want to agree during this assembly. We are aware that all rights are being violated to preserve the property rights. In our opinion, property right has to be under the rest of human, social, economic, and civil rights. Not paying the debt is not enough. Neither the acknowledgement of the illegitimacy of that debt. We already know that the capitalist system in itself works on the basis of systemic indebting mechanism. Without putting an end to the capitalist system, we won't be able to end the enslavement processes enforced by the indebting logic. The severity of the situation, above all the current Greek situation, demands a coordinated action of all European peoples. We are not going to allow that they make us believe there is a conflict between nations. We claim the conflict is between creditors and the peoples themselves. We are all Greek, Germans, Portuguese, Italian, Spanish, Irish, and European, and human. We reject the new European project, whose objective is to absolutely erase the capacity to decide about our own future. This is a silent coup d'etat. We warn about the rise of the political parties, and the battery is over, but I was almost at the end of it. Okay. It was really seriously almost everything.
Two proposals. One of them has to do with the process of direct democracy through a virtual tool. So we would have to create a tool that would allow us to communicate and to be in contact, and also to create a document that could be like a charter of the commons. We call it different things like wiki charter or a letter, or we call it different things basically. And through this charter, we could first point out the common enemies, we said, but also point out things that we share in our different countries, our different movements, and it would be very participative. So everyone could work on it and could share and input information in that. Yeah. Do you want? Okay. And he will say the second point.
Yeah, one of the main things that we reached an agreement today and a consensus in the group that we're trying to bring together the different ideas that came up at the democracy workshop was that somehow we have to create our own agenda, our own calendar, and it's very important that this agenda it doesn't comes out only with actions that we react against, like the G8 summits and so on. Somehow for us was very important to give ourselves our own time, an own calendar. So we have for us this process. It has to be like in every revolution has been given itself his own time, so somehow we have to build that. Anyway, also we have to take into account that people here come from different backgrounds, and we have to respect that somehow, and also, as it's been said before, that there are different ways of confronting the system. So we have to respect all those different ways, but also take into account that we are all fighting against the same thing. So basically, for us it was very important to generate this communication tool which allow us to start this process in which we will be starting to write this document. Under our point of view, there was like two phases of this document. One of it will be pointing the responsibles of the crisis, and the second one will be somehow giving us a frame of the commons, as she said. And well, the thing is that we have also decided that we will bring into assembly to present these documents in two ways. One will be a centralized one, and one will be decentralized. And also we have a bunch of dates that we want to present you and proceed to the debate on which dates we should be marked in the agenda. Some of them are already there, which is the one on the 22nd of March. This is the summit in Brussels, also because it's something to do with the European Parliament. I'm not really sure what it's about. The other one is already there, also is the G8 summit in London. And there are three more. One of them is the 15M 2013. The other one, we'll have to draw another line because we're talking already in 2014 when apparently a new building for the central bank will be inaugurated in Frankfurt. And finally, we wanted also to propose to have give us an event, a date. Here we don't have a proper date, rather we have a space. We were pointing to meet ourselves in Athens, somehow to focus and support the struggle by the Greek people, but also because we thought that was so important in the symbolism in the sense that democracy somehow was born in Greece, and in the process we want to start about rebuilding it. Somehow we wanted to get back there to the roots of democracy. I don't know if I'm missing something, people from the group.
Said that we want to make May for decentralized.
So there was a proposal after Brussels to make like May, maybe not just 15 May, but May as a month of decentral actions. So maybe this is important because there are different movements, different cultures, and different. Yeah? For example, there are also elections, like in Italy and other.
So, the methodology is exactly the same as the one with the dev group. Now, everyone who wants to add something, who wants to make any comment, please raise your hand, and you will come and have your turn, okay?
Sorry, can you repeat this because we didn't get what you said. Sorry. Very sorry. Can you repeat this last part?
Yes, I just said that the methodology we are following will be exactly the same as the one we've done with the dev group, okay? So, any person who has any comment about this, please raise your hand, you will be on a list, and you will have your turn to speak, okay?
Por favor, retiraos un poco el micro, porque se oye peor cuando te acercas tanto el micro.
¿Ya lo tienes?
So it's basically, I think it's very nice to have this agenda. These are proposals from the group. I was part of the group too, and I think it would be very, very nice to set really to create a common sense, some dates that we will do all together. And I think what came up also in our group is that we need a declaration. What comes out of this meeting at the end? So we write something down that we can send out in the world and maybe fix some dates or some actions that we want to do together. Just that.
Well, thank you. I have been also working in that group, in the democracy group. I think I would like to underline one thing that has been told here. So we have been talking about a decentralized meeting or a decentralized event. I think it's important because if we only focus in a centralized event, like almost every time we do, so we meet for example, in Brussels, we only be there the same people that are too much for what I see, but I think we have to create a new way of involving people in that creation of a constituent process or something like that. So the importance of take these
this process to our neighborhoods, to our places, to our cities, to our, I don't know, to our places, our assemblies. It's important because the people that is near to us but cannot, for example, as many of us that are very, I don't know, people that can, for instance, go to another country. There's no like too many people that could go to another country to a meeting like that. So I think it's important that to make a symbolic event in which all the people in every place could participate. Just that thing. Thank you.
Hello, I will try it in English, and if I'm not able, I will do it in Spanish, okay? I was part of the debt group, and I wanted to make a link between democracy and debt. Why? Because for me, if we just not pay the debt, I think we agree that it's not a solution at all. Why? Because if we stay in a non-democratic economy and politics, we will have once again capitalism, debt, etc. So my point for the concrete thing is that Yorgos Mitraias from Greece explained us that the problem with the debt audit campaign in Greece was that after that a lot of people in Greece were really interested about debt audit campaign, the main problem was the people couldn't say, the militant people couldn't say to all these people what to do concretely. And so the people working in the, I don't know in English, it's not factory, but all right, working or being in an hospital which is closing or a lot of things, they didn't know what to do. And so for me, the link between debt and democracy is that we need to reclaim power, no? And one of the ways to do it, for me, it could be the citizen debt audit in a way really concrete. And our problem now is that, for example, if someone who is working in a ministry want to help us to make audit and to control the audit, it's only a way for me to know what to do with the budget and to know why we are not in a democratic way to organize the economy and the society. And so if you are in your working place, can be a bank or a lot of things, and that you see where the money goes, why, and for who, this is about democracy, no? And so it's only an excuse, a way to go inside the problem. And concretely for me, the proposal about mixing, I'm sorry, in English, I speak a lot, to propose to coordinate the concrete tools that some people used in some countries. It could be really useful in that moment, maybe in Spain, when you will have a lot of people asking you, what can I do in my workplace, in my bank, in my hospital, in my... So it's, for me, I will work about that, and if some people want to make a place on internet to share a lot of tools about audit, all right, sorry. Please only remind you that we haven't got much time, so please stick to 2-3 minutes of intervention.
I was going to say this thing about decentralization, but I think the other person have spoken it perfectly, so I'm not going to repeat about that. Excuse me. I'm concerned that we can have another meeting in June or September or whatever, and at the end of the meeting someone came here and says, for democracy what we are thinking is to build a tool that is participation, and we also need communication between each other, which would mean that we have been doing nothing between this and the other one. So to build this collaborate tool is something very, very complex and very, very difficult, and we need different kind of knowledge. So I propose to have one kind of a technical group composed with hackers, composed with people that knows about participatory process, some of the people that has been working these days, and to have at least one meeting, not everyone, these people, to start developing this tool and to see what are the others, similar tools that we have, that they have in Bolivia, that they have in Brazil, that we have been seeing these days. Because if we don't, it's not just sharing the communication, but to produce something that is useful for the whole Europe. If we have at least a beta of that thing, it's going to be useful not as European level, but also in all different neighborhood states, etc. So I propose to have this working group, like a hackathon, you know, to build this tool and start having something to discuss and to work on.
About the need to build together this constituent process. Just a couple of considerations. Number one, of course, we start here from a common awareness and we share commonly the whole discourse on the crisis of representation. And so, of course, this is not the place that we're building where we're building the representation of the European movements. And of course that's why we have this complexity of proposals, of discussions, of practices. On the other hand, because we are movements from below, we do not wish to simply share the analysis. We want to build common possible practices. And as said, we want to define our own time to do that. That is why the word process is essential. This process that we're starting here, it's a process of networking, of continuous cooperation, of federation from below. It's also a process of common struggle. And this point is something that we have to be serene and open and explicit somehow about. Now, of course, you have many ways to struggle, but we do not wish to just come out, I think all of us from here, with the usual scheme of, okay, we've set a couple of days of action and then a lot of other things. We want to give the sense that from now this process of building a European space from below, of struggle and of commoning. From that point of view, identifying also some moments that we can practice together a struggle is useful. And we have to try to not to make the mistake of creating a contraposition with that which doesn't exist from the various forms. For example, convergence or decentralization. We all get together in one place or we all do things in other places. That is a complexity we have to keep together. What made possible to find ourselves in here in this space was, for example, the Blockupy Frankfurt moment. That was a first occasion. That, of course, was centralized with all the difficulties, but it gave us the possibility to meet each other and say, hey, we need to build a meeting like Agora 99. So that was an occasion. We have to try and explore these various different occasions. From that point of view, I will finish. From that point of view, the idea of the possibility of having both a moment of convergence in Brussels in March as something that we explore together, and then of course the various countries, movements will decide how much they can invest or can do something decentralized in the meantime, but we make a common effort towards that. And we make a common effort also towards creating in the spring a moment of decentralization. When we do that, we all give up a little sovereignty. We try to find ourselves. A possibility can be, you know, just to make the example that we made yesterday for everyone to understand. For example, here in Spain, May the 15M is a very strong symbolic date. That is a possibility that you can share with the rest of Europe. On the other hand, the rest of Europe will have to give feedback, and we do that together. It's very likely that on that very same weekend, for example, in Italy, we have national political elections. That's not up to us. But of course, if on the May 12, the 13, you have national political elections in Italy, perhaps for us, that is not the best moment to have a below decentralized moment of struggle. So that's how we build together this process, giving a sense that we start a mechanism of struggle together in 2013 towards 2014. And in the meantime, we continue to meet, we continue to build continuous networks.
So the thing, I want to answer to two questions firstly. The first thing, the dates. Why are so important the dates? So this is the thing. Why are so important the dates? Okay, it's important to have an horizon. What we are going to do? We are in a process, and so we need to have these different dates to know what is our horizon, but also to have this strategic reflection of what we want to do and how we want to do it. So we need a blueprint, and I think this is a needing that we have in this meeting, and we are not talking about this. After this we will talk about dates and to do this calendar. But also we have to be flexible, no, to all the possible scenarios that can be taking place in Europe in the next months. But it's very important to have this blueprint and some concrete dates about what we are doing to have this idea of this process and its perspective.
Sorry, I didn't get it. We need a what?
A blueprint.
Blueprint.
Hoja de ruta. Blueprint. A blueprint is an strategical tool. It's like these dates, we are doing this, why we are doing this, what are the targets, how are we doing it. So, the second issue related to democracy. No, we are talking what kind of democracy we want. What we want is the radicalization of democracy. Horizontal, participatory, direct democracy. And this is the point, no? How we can reappropriate democracy. And I think we are all agree on that, no? And then, it has been presented before, but I want to make a point, no? We were talking about this constituent process, but as we think it, no? It was a destituent and constituent process, and this dimension of the destituent is very important, no? So we want the governments to quit. It's not only just the constituent thing, it's the destituent and constituent, no? In that sense, we were talking about three different moments, no? The first moment, a moment of convergence in Brussels for the European summit that will be taking place in March, no? That it will be convergence, but also to all the countries where the movement is strong enough to make also decentralized demonstrations to support this thing in Brussels. Perfect, they can do it. There is no problem with that. But it's important this moment of convergence also, okay? Second moment, a decentralized action, no? Where we have to think about it, no? This is the point. But the important thing is to be in the places of power, no? Because we're thinking also to do it surrounding the parliaments, in the central banks, whatever. The point is that it will also implies a national convergence, and we don't like that. Okay. And the third moment, it will be also a convergence point in 2014 for the European Parliament elections, or also for the new building of the European Central Bank. But this is the point, it can be also decentralized. But the thing is that in that moment, we will do a report of all the work that we have been doing in this constituent process from 2015, the point in which we will be starting, no? We are starting from now, but the first action will be that day, no? In March 2015. So, this is the thing, and also the forms of these days of convergence, no? We were talking about this in the working group, and the thing is like we're thinking, okay, we can do assemblies, we can do also demonstrations, and also we can do the action, no? So it will be a combination of all these three things. And just for finishing, it's very important to have a declaration, a final statement from this meeting, okay? A final statement that we are saying, okay, we are starting this destituent and constituent process, and we are a new European constituent movement. And also, just to finish, it's very important, if we are talking in this processual dimension, to have this continuity. In that sense, it's very important, what Guillermo was saying before, to have a technical working group to develop all these telematic tools, that they are really important, but not just only for the communication, but also for the self-organization, the actions, and whatever. But it's a common place to work, to communicate, to organize. Okay? Thank you.
So I think we have to recognize that there are different people from different movements, from different, what we just said on Friday, different cultures. Okay. And so I think we could continue from here. We can't decide everything what was just said. We can't resolve the problem of democracy now here, but we came together, we had good ideas, and we started to think about practicing direct democracy with a European process of constitutional process, or how do we want to call it, like the European process from the base. And I think it's a dual process. Like, to create direct democracy, we have to organize new communication tools. We spoke about this wiki charter, about this letter and stuff, but I think it's not just a technical question of how to communicate. We have to practice it in the networks and also in actions in the streets, which could be central and decentralized. I think we have to practice direct democracy also by civil disobedience, by experience what we could change together, and so I would like it to speak about about a concrete calendar, because I think it would be helpful for us now to return after Madrid with concrete ideas. How do we want to go forward, where we will meet us again? And so I think it's very important to speak about concrete dates. So there were proposals of the Debt and Democracy Group of the state in Brussels in March. There were the idea to have 1 month of decentralized actions, where we could refer different actions, different parts of Europe and also beyond Europe, where it would be the possibility to refer to each other. And yeah, it's just the question to concrete some dates for us to push this process.
Hi everybody, I'm from the social centers of Italy, of northeast of Italy, and among things we are strongly supporting the date in March of Brussels, because we think that it is a fundamental part of a constituent process that thousands and thousands of people show up in Brussels, raising the voice against the Troika, against the oppression of debt, against the finance, and showing that a huge part of Europe, the people of Europe, are actively opposing to all this kind of governance that they are trying to enforce in Europe, okay? And we think that this is a constituent part of the constituent process. It is important. But as well, we think that it is as much important that the struggles are not just about wording the struggle, but practicing the struggle, so that to put deep roots of struggles in the territories where the real life and real problem enrolls. And so we are also supporting the action days of May, so against the banks, against the debt, and for claiming and building in the territories the new social rights that we want. So we are strongly supporting the 2 days in Brussels in March and the radical action days in our territories in May as a part of the constituent process that is not just about wording of things.
I would like to speak from two roles. One role is that I participated in the workshop on real democracy in Europe, and the other is being from the social movements in Ljubljana, Slovenia. So there was a really clear interest in this workshop expressed that we work on criticism of the institutional framework of the European Union and its lack of democracy on the one hand, and on the other hand to work on the concrete practices of direct, collaborative, participatory democracy that are built in the movements. So I think that this is something that was not then mentioned. But of course, as being movements, we are working on in the framework of action platform. So we have to find the ways how we are going to criticize the institutional framework of the European Union and its governance on the one hand, and on the other hand, how we are going to promote the direct democracy as processes and so forth. And this is something we have to do through the actions. So for this reason, also from coming from the movements in Ljubljana, I think it's really important to have this date in Brussels on the one hand as convergence, and then the decentralized actions. But those decentralized actions should be based on concrete struggles, because we are in concrete struggles, but we struggle by also producing new ways of democracy, of being together in democratic way.
So, this is the thing. Why are so important the dates? Okay? It's important to have an horizon, what we are going to do. We are in a process. And so we need to have these different dates to know what is our horizon, but also to have this strategic reflection of what we want to do and how we want to do it. So we need a blueprint, and I think this is a needing that we have in this meeting, and we are not talking about this. After this we will talk about dates and to do this calendar. But also we have to be flexible, no, to all the possible scenarios that can be taking place in Europe in the next months. But it's very important to have this blueprint and some concrete dates about what we are doing to have this idea of this process and its perspective.
Sorry, I didn't get it. We need a what?
A blueprint.
Blueprint.
Hoja de ruta. Blueprint. A blueprint is an strategical tool. It's like these dates, we are doing this, why we are doing this, what are the targets, how are we doing it. So, the second issue related to democracy. No, we are talking what kind of democracy we want. What we want is the radicalization of democracy. Horizontal, participatory, direct democracy. And this is the point, no? How we can reappropriate democracy. And I think we are all agree on that, no? And then, it has been presented before, but I want to make a point, no? We were talking about this constituent process, but as we think it, no, it was a destituent and constituent process, and this dimension of the destituent is very important, no? So we want the governments to quit. It's not only just the constituent thing, it's the destituent and constituent, no? In that sense, we're talking about three different moments, no? The first moment, a moment of convergence in Brussels for the European summit that will be taking place in March, no? That it will be convergence, but also to all the countries where the movement is strong enough to make also decentralized demonstrations to support this thing in Brussels. Perfect, they can do it. There is no problem with that. But it's important this moment of convergence also, okay? Second moment, a decentralized action, no? Where we have to think about it, no? This is the point. But the important thing is to be in the places of power, no? Because we're thinking also to do it surrounding the parliaments, in the central banks, whatever. The point is that it will also implies a national convergence, and we don't like that. Okay. And the third moment, it will be also a convergence point in 2014 for the European Parliament elections, or also for the new building of the European Central Bank. But this is the point, it can be also decentralized. But the thing is that in that moment, we will do a report of all the work that we have been doing in this constituent process from 2015, the point in which we will be starting. No? We are starting from now, but the first action will be that day, no? In March 2015. So, this is the thing, and also the forms of these days of convergence, no? We were talking about this in the working group, and the thing is, like, we're thinking, okay, we can do assemblies, we can do also demonstrations, and also we can do the action, no? So it will be a combination of all these three things. And just for finishing, it's very important to have a declaration, a final statement from this meeting, okay? A final statement that we are saying, okay, we are starting this destituent and constituent process, and we are a new European constituent movement. And also, just to finish, it's very important, if we are talking in this processual dimension, to have this continuity. In that sense, it's very important, what Guillermo was saying before, to have a technical working group to develop all these telematic tools, that they are really important, but not just only for the communication, but also for the self-organization, the actions, and whatever. But it's a common place to work, to communicate, to organize. Okay? Thank you.
Hello. I'm going to introduce the right workshops summarize. As we didn't reach a consensus on how to present it, I am just to list the proposals a bit summarized, and then each workshop can come and continue presenting each part. Okay, so one of the parts of the proposals, well, a group of proposals is making maps, mapping. One of them is a map of self-management networks in Europe. Other one is a map of anti-abortion groups, organized groups, because they are reaching power in some states. I tell that the rights workshops are very different one with each other, because they are like different topics. So now, concerning the campaigns, which is a group of proposals, coming from the military dismantling workshop, they propose an international military dismantling campaign, coordinated all in the whole world, a global campaign. The name of this campaign, or the slogan, could be military spending for social budget, or for social spending. Other proposal of the military dismantling workshop is the fiscal objection to military spending. Okay, coming from another workshop was about common goods. Common goods, bienes comunes, bene comune. One of the proposals of this workshop was to join a European popular legislative initiative that is now going on considering the water as a common good in a European level. This campaign is taking place in this moment. Is to all the groups involved in this movement, and in this Agora 99 to join this initiative. Another one is to coordinate all European anti-fracking campaigns, to coordinate them. Okay, coming from the civil disobedience workshop, we have a campaign of responsible consumerism, a coordinated campaign. Another one is a self-management campaign. No, it's not a campaign, I think, but then they can come and continue presenting because I have not it very clear. Concerning the chart of rights workshop, the proposal of this workshop is to implement a chart of rights not linked to labor but linked to citizenship and englobing rights like housing, income, and also caring and the reduction of the work day. That comes from the workshop on feminism. The heteropatriarchal, well, this workshop, no? Like we can include these proposals on the chart of the chart of social rights. Okay. Another workshop is basic income, and they propose to support this campaign of basic income and reappropriation of income. You know, that this is very, very summarized. Each workshop is like 2-3 hours, and you can accede in the path to all the information of this discussion, and it's a very enriching debate. Okay, about we propose also in this workshop some dates. There are a lot of proposals for the 14th of November, but we are going to speak about that later. Now, one of the proposals is the 1st of December, a day against precarity and unemployment. That is proposed by Paris group, a group from Paris. So, other one is this global struggle for boys' emancipation. That is 25 of November and 28 of November. And this one, the 25 is gender violence, this about that topic, and the other one is for abortion rights. Okay, another day proposal is to consider to a European Day for recovering of common goods. The other one is in December, a week of struggle on education all around Europe. It's not the concrete day, it's not at this moment because they are working on it. The people that are involved in different organizations are working on the concrete dates of the education movement and also in the topic of common goods. I think that's all, and now if any group wants to make any modifications or tell something else about its workshop, you can come and speak. And sorry for my English, and thank you.
Okay, just to be more precise about the agenda we did into the basic income and in a more general aspect about the rights group. Oh, okay, now better. So just to be a little bit more precise about the agenda we have inside the basic income workshop we did, and into a more general framework into the rights table we have. So what we thought it's that we think that a date it can be useful, but it's always just a first step we can bring together inside the process we want to build up. This is because we need to build up and generate from below the rights we want to bring on the dates all on. And it's a kind of program we have to start to build up starting from this point. So what we think that could be useful in this sense is to open a cooperative space of struggles, which can be into the more framework of reappropriation of the commons, like the other comrades said before, but also in a positive perspective, like reclaiming the universal guaranteed basic income as an horizon, as a perspective of a point of an advance of what we can ask for having a better society, an equal and distributed wealth for all the population that lives in Europe, the crisis, and even giving an answer of this problem to that. So in order to do this, we think that network is really important. That's why we think that platforms will be used in a very strong way to build up together this movement. And this will be on Twitter, on Facebook, or whatever else, because the network that came out will just pose the problem of the differences we had together, and we saw it in a right assembly, how it has been hard to have one resume of all perspective we had into the Agora 99 meeting. So we think that this is a good way to start with, starting from Agora 99 website, which directly express which are the rights we want to work on, but this will be generated by the struggles we have in, because it's not necessary to have a workshop to build up new rights. And then, just what's last thing, we think that characterized the 14th of November, it's a very important date for European movement, because it's the first step of a European strike. But this is a European strike we cannot intend about the labor force. We already know that the major composition is precarious and unemployed. So I think even characterize this date, starting from Agora 99, it's a goal. We just put a point on it, because I think this is a very starting point where we can build up together a network in order to build up together this date. And so in this sense, we think that the framework of the appropriation of the commons, of the Commonwealth, and basic income is a good way to start with a reclaim against the austerity policies and for the institution of happiness against the society and what we want to be.
Hello, I just want to attract the attention to I want to attract the attention to the methodology about the communication. I think I am becoming aware of the difficulties with the translation or with the differences with the cultures, different countries, the different stages of the process of revolution in each country. So I would like maybe to find a way, it has been said already that a communication tool is going to be built to find what we have in common and to learn to interact with each other. So I hope that bit by bit, all people that are here can find their way to know what we have in common and build this movement, European movement, all together. So it's about the communication, because I see that maybe there are people who have not intervened or expect something different from my point of view also. Well, I just want to show my support to the idea that we can have the decentralized action. Well, and just one more idea. If we talk too much about the powers that we are against, we are reinforcing their position, and we are making them stronger. Maybe we should pay more attention to the people, and maybe don't decide the events according to summits or what they are doing. So try to attract more attention to ourselves. Nothing else. Thanks.
I mean, okay, obviously we're having Agora 99 in Madrid because the Spanish movement is strong enough to call an international meeting because it's got the strength to do it. But if we're talking about launching a European process, then we need to consider and make these decisions. It's true, the movement in the UK is not as well organized, as big as the movement in Spain. I don't think anyone is going to deny that. However, the depth of the crisis in the UK is very big. Things can change very quickly in the UK, just as they can here in Spain, just as they can in Italy. I think we need to make the decision on the basis that we are a democratic body. If we don't make a decision, then someone else is going to have to do it. It will have to be some committee. It will have to be the Spanish comrades who have to make that decision rather than us. So really, we should feel empowered to make this decision.
The timing, because we don't want to abuse of this process. We know that it's very important that we reconvene and that the richness of all that we've been doing here needs to continue. But if we start, for example, saying we meet again in 3 months, and then we're going to Brussels, and then the decentralized, and we abuse of the process, and instead of keep growing, we deplete it. So we'll have to think about the timing. My very individual idea is that probably maybe in between now and the spring, March in Brussels, the decentralized in May, we might need, for example, an assembly, but kind of a light one, because people cannot spend money and take lots of days off. And perhaps after the spring, we can use the summertime to reorganize a big Agora that can last a number of days and can be really a reach of workshops, of laboratories. But that's very individual. We need to take the time and don't abuse of the process. That's just why we're saying, let's use the tools we're developing and we will find a balanced way. But